Hello guys, welcome back to another video. This video is on dark web and anonymity and cybersecurity. I will welcome to one more lovely, beautiful, and extremely useful content. The video series is all about making use of the dark web and being anonymous at the same time. And at the end we'll learn what are the different steps of making use of cybersecurity. The best practices to be in a private mood while accessing the public content. So we'll first start with the risk involved when you are accessing. The course is permanent. Sorry, not really course that we are doing at this moment, but accessing some of the contents that you feel very private, or maybe you are in a business where free speeches that were free. Speeches is really important where your activity belongs to press. Alright, so this is where having the power of being anonymous is very important. And that's where we'll learn more about making use of dark web to access some of. To not really to access, but to see what are the different contents available. Is it good? Is it bad? And for sure it's going to be banned for 90% or 95% of the time. But it is important to look at it what all it is, same time. We'll also see if you are even making use of your public web. The freely available web. What are the different steps of being into private mode or anonymous so that whatever activity doing you still be safe. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that we'll learn is the introduction of the course. And over here we'll learn about different risks involved with it. So, if you are an end user as told you in the business of, those free speech or press related stuff, or maybe you have some content which is sent, which can be very sensitive to some party out there, right? So in that case, it is very important for you. But before we do that, we need to understand where the risk really resides. Alright, the first thing is your hardware itself, your system. Your laptop, your desktop, mobile phone, anything, alright? So anything related to your hardware system, from which you accessing to the rest of the world, that's whether the risk resides where you might be having your data. But that doesn't get you erased, wipe out, or whenever you can make use of it, that becomes a risk for you because that's where the person's strength or the part of data really resides, even if you're making use of encryption technology. There are software, there are agencies out there who can grab those information if they want it. Next is the operating system now. Understand this operating system. Help me to make use of all your application and that runs on your hardware, right? Maybe you talk about Windows, maybe you talk about your Mac OS. You have Ubuntu or Arch Linux or anything, even Kali as well. These are operating systems, and now, if they can store the information, because we never know this, the open source information is good. But at the same time, Windows or Mac OS is third party and they are the private organization and we don't have any control about it, right? So next thing is the browser, so understand this way. Whatever you do when the public network, you can either do it maybe email conversation, or maybe on the browser, and browser is something which makes all the activity available without installing in each straight. So we are in a situation. We are in the period and era where everything has gone into the applications. Starting from your email conversation to chats to even to your net banking information on. Maybe you're browsing to any effect, everything can be tracked. Everything goes to the other party and goes to any other corner of the world through the gateway. And this gateway passes to send the mirror of the traffic to the national agencies, to have a proper surveillance to all their citizens for any purpose to influence, or to have a proper monitoring. And that's where the risk-related side, right? And then it comes to the email that you make use of, maybe Gmail or Yahoo Mail. All these are made for the purpose of productivity, for giving you a useful platform to send an email, but doesn't provide any sort of private Or anonymity, right? Because this is where if you send an email and go to their server from there, it can be fetched to multiple other clients, or maybe can be sent to the receiver's one. So there is no sort of anonymity, no sort of private or making it anonymous. Well, the next thing is your Wi-Fi, and now this is, of course. It sounds really crazy. But yes, it is, because I'm not sure if you have looked at other ethical hacking content courses you will find. If somebody get the access to your wireless network, it can actually get to see what all you do. Right, with the help of man-in-the-middle attack. They can get to see what all you are doing in your browser or from your all communication, going out of your laptop or from your network. Can be seen or can be spied as well. Somebody can see that person. Alright, now, at the end, I know it's some very different stuff, but yes, of course, credit card information. How exactly? That's a great question to answer this. When somebody shares their information as a part of credit card, or maybe any other information like social, I say any other information. Anybody can look at their rights. Because even if you are buying something and you are sharing information like your credit card, people can track, okay? Who is the one who bought the same information, because that's where your name, address and all that information has been filled out, and it can be tracked by this word. Now, it is important to understand how these old risks can be covered at them, right? And that's what we are talking about while being anonymous, being into achieving the privacy as well. So this is all about it. Now, let's talk about how to secure. How to reduce the risk on every layers. So we talk about risk at the hardware operating system, browser, email. All right, so we'll talk about each one of them one by one. So let's first talk about the operating system. I mean, this is where you can make use of TailOS. What's so special about it? Unlike any operating system which has to be binded with your hardware, tell me MacBook. Your macOS can only run on the Apple, of course. But for rest of the hardware like HP, Dell, Windows can be installed, or any other operating system can be installed. But remember, the data still resides with it. Once you install any operating system, the data resides with that, and your opinion system can bind. So that information can store that information. And when you make use of TailOS, it is built to make it non-persistent, so you can make use of a USB drive. I'll show you in the later video. When you can have a bootable pen drive with TailOS and this TailOS. You can once you insert on any of the laptop, it just could go. You can do your work, and once you remove it, it wipe up or wipe out all the information. All your activity that you have done on this, but that's useful. Alright, next is Tor browser. We have talked about the risk related to your browsing activity. Tor browser is something that will be making use of it. When we try to access or try to see what all stuff is there on the dark web, right? And this is. We are going to learn and we'll see for the educational purpose. Why I say that? Because this is something which is very, very important. Dark web is something which is mostly used for the bad activity and for the educational purpose. We wanted to see what all are there in the dark web so that we can educate others. How to make yourself secure and not to go on any dark website, dark web, or darknet, just for sake of exploring it, and how to be safe enough before you do any activities. So now next is hotspot Wi-Fi. Make use of your hotspot Wi-Fi whenever you go, wherever you travel. Don't make use of so many public Wi-Fi activity, and of course, I'm talking about some best practices and the same stuff. Of course, OpenPGP, and this is something which is very important. This is a very old technology, but this is still works. Because this is where, provide really comes in you. Send an email, you will get encrypt. You encrypt. those email content and send at the other party if he has a key. Then only he can decrypt it and can see what is there inside. Well, right now, this is all about making your email secure enough. Or, I mean, safe now, private enough. Now Bitcoin, I know all of you know Bitcoin, right? But we are talking about it not for making money out of it, not to have appreciation, nor valuation, all those stuff. What I am talking about is if you really want to make yourself anonymous on the way anywhere in the world, in spite of using your credit card information, make use of Bitcoin because that's where you are. Personal information, never get it share. Now a burner or non-personal laptop, if you remember. I talked about the risk related to your hardware, and this is where you can avoid that. By making use of any of the non-personnel of burner, laptop. Never ever share your personal information with anybody. Right, because this is where if everything you try to reduce the risk on everywhere. If you share your personal information, there's no way to go. Right, because you never know where it exactly going around, how it can be used. Now, what I am really talking about at the end is what? Whatever we are going to learn, this is all on the personal or for the educational purpose. This is my highly personal advice. Because this is something where if you do that, and if you are getting engaged with it, you can get tracked as well. But so this is where you have to avoid doing that as well. And this all covers the introduction to the dark web. Dark web and anonymity and cybersecurity. Now, we have learned about whatever risk available and how to mitigate those risks. We'll learn each of these points in detail throughout this series, and some of the more advanced topics as well throughout this series too. Alright, so till then, I hope you like this video. We'll catch the next one. Thank you.